Yes, good afternoon, Adeshji. Good to see you on the video screen in current COVID-19 times. Hope you're safe and healthy.
Thank you, Pratap. Definitely, it's a pleasure to talk to you. And under this lockdown, we are using this new age technologies to connect with each other. So work from home is a new experience, in this current COVID scenario. And everybody is safe at home, and I hope the same at you and your company and your family.
Right. So let me begin with some questions on the footwear industry to begin with. So I think I think you have said in one of your interviews earlier, the market size is around 55,000 crores currently and expected to grow at 15%, and maybe it was scheduled to be 80,000 crore in a few years. Uh, but
Right.
but it is largely unorganized, and you have a lot of players from the SME world who are from the unorganized sector who are catering to this market. Is that all correct?
Well, as a background, yes, what we are saying is absolutely correct. That this is a unorganized sector where MSME predominantly are close to 70 to 80% of the market, whether in terms of manufacturing or even up to the retail level. So the organized retail is also very, very small compared to the unorganized sector. So overall, this industry end to end is a very unorganized sector so far.
And given the fact that there is so much of a disorganized market, I think the GST particular, I think, which issue which had come up, where you have a very high rate above 500 and 5% below 500 was a big issue of concern, which was probably egging people on to having non-billed merchandise and things like that. So does that continue even now?
Well, GST is one of the biggest pain for this sector because normally the GST rate is slab is normally one in all the countries. Here we have a very special situation that we have four rates of slabs, but the dichotomy is that within my sector there are two rates, which is 5% when the shoes are 1,000 rupees and below. It was 500 in the
1,000.
past,
Okay.
it got corrected to 1,000. And then the second slab is above 1,000, it is 18%. Now when you have that kind of a situation, it's like you are making the industry bonsai, that you can't grow. If you really want to be in the industry, you should remain under 1,000, because beyond 1,000, who will pay 18%? So between 1,000 to 2,000 price point, the tax rate is so high that whatever tax is there on the differential, it is only the tax, nothing else. So that means who will produce the shoes between 1,000 to 2,000, and that is a sweet spot for India where the middle class or the people who would like to buy more shoes, they fall in the category of 1,000 to 2,000. So that is where the industry wanted to grow very fast, but because of these limitations, unfortunately, our industry is struggling for growth. On the other hand, there is like a parallel economy working where the dealers are not paying 18%, the manufacturers to pay 18%, and then so and so on. So there's a real challenge for the manufacturing or retail.
And what about finance? I mean, there is the industry is also dependent a lot on finance and loans. Are they easier to come by for the industry, or again that also remains a challenge?
See, if you look at the industry scenario, majority of the banks, they go by the glamour of any industry, be it automotive, be it maybe luxury segment, or be it any segment where the glamour they see. Unfortunately, we do not have so many players which are large enough who represent the industry in a way that there's a glamour to the industry, where the financial institutions or investors or banks or any other mode of financing model is not there, because they do not see the sector as a glamorous sector, as a sector which has there is a definite understanding that yes, this is a sector which has a lot of potential, a lot of growth possible. But in spite of all this, the lenders are not coming forward to give a low rate of interest to the MSMEs or to the players, and they are always asking the higher rate of interest, usually 10 to 12 to 13, 14%. Whereas the larger players, whether they are like Reliance, for example, they may get a 7, 8%. Now, in effective, that MSME is paying 3 to 5% more tax, whereas we are rather better paymasters than maybe the one who are not even paying anything. Eventually, the whole money which they have sucked in, we have a lot of examples. Whereas MSME is always paying on time, and yet they have to pay the higher rate of interest.
But there we have the protection from the MSME Act, where these companies are supposed to report on whether they have delayed payments beyond 45 days, and they're supposed to even pay interest on that.
See, theory is different than practical. Today, when you have to do business, you are a businessman. In the end, there is always a flexibility on the buyer or seller side. Now, you cannot spoil your relation with your customer, whether it's a small or big. So, while law are there to protect you, but that is only in case of dispute. But why would you like to create a dispute with your buyers when you have to sell and go back again and again to the same person or the same company?
But listed companies are supposed to report the fact that they have not delayed any, and that is an auditor's certificate actually.
No, it is not that that you are not paying. What I'm saying is that there are not too many listed companies. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
there are only 8 or 10. But we are talking about a sector. We are not talking about 5 or 6 companies, including me. We're talking about the rest of the sector, where there are larger players, but they are either privately held or they are maybe still a partnership company, or the sector is still not organized. But the vendors to you who are job workers or who are micro small industries, they have the same situation. They are facing the music.
What is the extent of mechanization in the industry?
See, at the end of the day, this industry will always remain labor intensive, because you cannot make shoes by a single machine. So when we are making natural materials like leather, for example, if you have to convert it to a shoe, there are 104 components which goes into a shoe making. Now, you can't make everything mechanized. You can mechanize the processes. You can mechanize certain operations. But overall, if you see globally, it is still a labor-intensive industry and will remain labor-intensive. So maybe you can save 10%, 15%, 20% of the labor, but not beyond that.
So what would be your estimate of the number of people employed in this industry?
Well, there are guesstimates. There is no study. There is no report available on this sector, whether it is unorganized, organized, size of the market, or employment, or number of units, or production capacities. There is no data available. And CFLA is the apex chamber which was formed under the Ministry of Commerce. We insisted the government to do a study, basically to find all these gaps or all this data which is required by the industry, by the government, by the policymakers, including the media or the banks. Unfortunately, this is not available. But what I feel that in general, I think we are talking about close to, if I look at front end to back end, there would be somewhere around 6 to 7 million people employed.
6 to 7
Sorry,
million.
60 million. Yeah.
60 million.
Correct.
That's a huge number. I mean, that already warrants for a case.
Including retail, including manufacturing, including supply chain, including everything. So, in effect, that, if you, sorry, this is 6 to 7 million, not 60.
Yeah, 6 to 7.
Yes.
So
what I'm saying is that, but the moot point here is, or the important point here is that we are giving employment to the people who matter the most. They are the most poorest of the poor. Yeah. Ladies, women, backward, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. We are giving employment to those people who are uneducated. And these are the people who need jobs, but where would they go? They can't go to the government. They can't go to automotive industry. They can't go to many other sectors where they need certain skills. So here is one sector, after 1 week of training, they are put on a stitching machine, like the ladies stitch at home. So you don't need any skill. And you provide the skill on the virtual floor or your own floor, and then they are given like an unskilled job from 1 week onward.
So all the more reason actually it very well warrants and qualifies for some sort of a interest reduction for loans, etc., given to this sector, if it is going to be so it allows for diversity in employment as well as attends to the poor. Isn't there any such scheme
I
already.
wish the policymakers echoes your views, or they let's say take decisions based on your views and our views. But unfortunately, that is not the case. Let's say in the current scenario, which is COVID, post-COVID, I think huge opportunity. Here is a train which we can jump onto when China will vacate its dominance in manufacturing, and under Make in India, Make for the World, if the government takes steps like interest rate reduction, capacity building, and in terms of GST, rationalization, and many other, expectations of the sector, if they can take, a complete recipe. Normally, what they do is they do piecemeal. Now, if they do complete recipe for success, then we have all the reasons for success, because China is producing 1500 crores of shoes, 1500 crores, whereas India is only producing 250 crores. So they are 6 to 7 times more bigger, and our export is only 10 crores of shoes. So out of 250 crores shoes we produce, we just export 10 crores. So which means domestic consumption is 200, 240 crores, which include Hawaii chappals. But if that be so, that means if China vacates its 10% share, which is equal to 150 crores, we don't have capacity. So in other words, what we are saying is, if the government thinks that this is the time when the supply chain solutions will change, the supply chain countries will change, and this is where Europe, US, UK, they will look at India as their preferred destination in future. Japan has already said. So I believe that we have a recipe for success built up now, and it's time that the government listens to our genuine grievances, and what you are also saying, that it calls for all these measures to be addressed.
In fact, not only China, even Italy has been hurt in this COVID crisis, and I'm sure they must be also contributing a lot in the leather market with their,
True.
favored products. So yes, I think that opportunity does exist. Can you speak about your Liberty Lifestyle, the retail venture that you have launched in 2018?
So, so the so when we were struggling with Liberty shoes, because
Sorry, your mic.
in the, yeah, there was an incoming call, so that you cannot do anything. Uh, so what I'm saying was that when we were struggling, that the high rate of taxation on GST or VAT before, we thought what we can do in our industry, having the experience of retail, having the experience of consumer, and a very strong brand behind us. So we thought of that, what could be the items. So out of hundreds of items we were listing, there were many pains which we already having in retail, whether it is shoes or shoe supply chain or inventories or SKUs, etc., etc. And we realized that there's only one product, which is perfumes, which has high margin, low cost of production, and you do not need to get into a big manufacturing base. So keeping all the pains in mind, we realized that the perfume was the only product which can get into the next level of growth, and that's how we brought into this industry. But it's a pure marketing. We are not manufacturing anything, though all the formulas or the formulations belong to us. It's a third party contract manufacturing we are doing, and we are marketing with our own brand under Liberty brand, which is very popular. And we have seen through experience that the brand acceptability is very high. On online, the people are buying perfumes left and right. So which means that the brand has equity, which is very strong, even if you diversify to a new product category. So we are quite hopeful that as we progress, right now there will be a stage where the luxury market can be hit because of the COVID. But I think as we move forward in 2 3 years from now, there would be definitely attraction in the luxury, not luxury, semi-luxury, I would say, products, where we can take a center stage in the perfume business going forward. But I'm very bullish about this business
What is the
because there's the
component of,
export potential.
yeah, what is the e-commerce element in your sales? What is the percentage of sales through
You would be
e-commerce?
surprised, though our base is very small, but our model is built that our sales will be almost 70% through e-commerce. You'll be
70% through
surprised.
e-commerce.
Yes, it will be going to be like that.
Okay.
And we are building up this model because we have seen that people are able to buy even if they have not smelled the product. They are willing to buy online, and Amazon or all big 7 portals, we are already there. since almost 6 months now, and we are now stimulating all the let's say portals with better stocks, better coordination, and in terms of better, let's say, publicity across digital strategies. So we are working on this, and in the future after we open under lockdown, then we will have a better strategy to come up with e-commerce, because we feel now under post COVID there will be greater opportunity of 200-300% growth in e-commerce.
How do you think post lockdown you can restart your manufacturing? How are you going to maintain the safety protocols and things like that?
See, first of all, to me, if I look at my sector, one is the front end, the other is the back end. Now, my front end is closed, which is retail, is completely closed, which means that either consumers are not buying anything or consumer cannot buy because it is closed. And even for the next 2-3 months, there will be hardly a big buying happening across retail stores. I can see a drop in consumption to be up to maybe 30-40% in the next 2-3 months. It may pick up after June, July, but then is already a rainy season. But if I look at back end, I have no urgency to produce goods because I'm not selling. So which means that under the lockdown period, I am either insulated or I have to sleep. I am in a slumber because I have nothing to do. I can't do anything. But once the lockdown opens, it all depends when it will open. Today is 3rd May. You never know. This can be further extended. Now, what will be the protocols which the government will bring in? We are all ready to follow because we are a labor-intensive industry. So we have to follow very strictly those guidelines, and we are capable to do that. If we need to have, sprinklers, we need to have sanitizers, we need to have masks, we need to have social distances. All has to be done. But at the end of the day, if there's a labor-intensive industry, you can't put 20 feet people apart because you don't have the space. So we have to keep the constraint behind our manufacturing processes, and whatever best scenario we can do, and we will put all our efforts behind so that we don't have this kind of a problem in our company.
How many people do you employ, Mr. Gupta?
Altogether, including front and back end, is close to about 4,000 people, including retail.
So this is wishing that all of us turn out well. And yes, I totally agree that we have a great chance in building up our exports. I think 10 crores is hardly anything that we are doing. We can really get a huge bump if we progress this well. Thank you very much for this interview. Any last thoughts?
I wish you all the very best to you, and I would like to wish every listener, reader, or the people of this country the best of the health, and let's fight this battle very strongly, and I'm sure we'll come out very strongly. Our Corona warriors, I think we need to thank all of them for their including media, who is doing a very, very positive role. I think we owe a lot of let's say thanks to the people who are in security, who are our cooks, who are our servants, who are working round the clock, including the doctors, patients, nurses, everybody. We need to really thank them that they have shown a very let's say a strong character in solving this crisis.
All right, thank you, Adesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pratap. Thank you. Nice talking to you. Let's stay in touch.
Yes.
Take care.